Go.
Hi, I'm Todd Harrington, and we're here at Honey Salt, and we're making the Biloxi Fried Chicken Sandwich. So, in your kit, you're going to have 2 cups of oil, 1 of buttermilk, 1 of coleslaw. You'll have a nice little tin can that has 2 buns, 2 picks, that's for the end, 4 pickles times 2, because there's 4 per sandwich, Durkey's dressing for each sandwich, the dredge, butter for the buns, the marinated chicken, and gloves. Aside from that, that's finished, we're gonna have our end of summer corn salad, and we will also have our peach cobbler. So that's what you're getting inside your bag. What you'll need that is very helpful is 2 bowls, and they don't have to be this big. And then a cast iron pan is preferred, but it can be any like high-walled pan. A smaller pan that I'm also going to toast the buns in, and a finishing plate with a paper towel on there, and that's for your fried chicken. And we'll talk about that too, that it has to rest. I also have a thermometer. Of course, you don't need a laser thermometer, but this is just so I can show you the temperature it needs to be. You don't want to go over 350, that's very important, but the sweet spot's kind of 325. And then tongs, so you don't burn yourself. So just to get started, really depending on the size of your pan, the pan is going to be, this one here is a 15-inch pan. But it can be a little bit smaller, and if it is smaller, you're going to use a little bit less oil. You only want the oil to be about a ½ inch from the bottom. Oil. And like I said, this is a bigger pan. This is a bigger pan, so we're going to use a little bit more. Yeah, that's about it. You don't want to use it all if you don't have to. We're not deep frying here, we're short fat frying. Can you see that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now while this is all getting hot, we can get everything ready over here with our buns, our dredge, our chicken. And actually, this is the easy part here. For the first dredge, you want to just leave it in the bag. These are already pounded out, as you can see. Hopefully, you can see it all post-marinated, still has the seasoning and everything on there. It's gonna go right into the dredge. And this is just so that you don't have to use more gloves than you have. Just mix it up. Like shake and bake when we were growing up. And then next, it's gonna go into the buttermilk. Right into the buttermilk. Make sure to get the top and bottom. Wet hand, dry hand. And then the rest of the flour you're going to put into your second bowl. So like I said, this has already been marinated, so it doesn't have to sit in here long. But you do have to make sure that you don't see any of the dry flour anymore. So once that's all glossy like that. Now, this is kind of like a thing that I've been doing forever now. But the whole wet hand, dry hand, I joke about because in certain circumstances I use it and certain I won't. This one I won't, and the reason I won't is because a lot of chefs actually Let me turn this down. A lot of chefs actually prefer to, a lot of southern chefs, prefer to actually drizzle a little bit of buttermilk into their dredge, and that just kind of gives more striations, a little more personality to it. So the more it's kind of messed with, the bumpier and more striations it'll have, and it looks better on the chicken. It looks nice and crispy, and just trust me on this. It looks much better. So that's what it should look like when it's done, ready to fry. And like I said, I use the same hand for these because, like I said, the end result is much better. And these are already pounded out. This is Redbird chicken from Redbird Farms. See that? It just keeps getting better too. So it's not just plain flour anymore. You got a little bit of buttermilk mixed in there. And then look, you see my hand? That's what the chicken should look like. I keep going back and forth in the same flour with the same hand. You see how crispy that looks? It's not even fried yet. Okay. There we go. And now it's ready to fry. So I have this here sitting. And once I'm done with that, and I have these extra gloves too, so change them as you need, but not too often to where you run out of gloves. But obviously right after the chicken, you don't want to keep using your gloves. You don't want to wash your gloves either under the sink. I've heard of people wanting to do that to save the glove. Fresh gloves, and then here's the buns. Just want to take this room temperature butter. I like to take the back of my spoon and just like that. It'll melt, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Just like as long. I like to stick it together just until we're about ready to use it. The coleslaw here to finish. The pickles and the turkeys. Like I said, this is just plain buttermilk. The chicken, as I mentioned, it's already pre-marinated, but in the marinade, it's a really simple marinade. It's basically a brine, which is mostly sugar and water. But instead of using sugar, we're using molasses. So there's molasses in the brine, sugar, salt, pepper, paprika, and that kind of sits overnight. And then when we pull that out, we dab it, and then that's when it goes into the flour dredge and then into the buttermilk prior to service. So the same thing we're kind of doing home at a much smaller scale. I'm going to check the temperature real quick. Okay, so right now I'm at about 375, so I'm just going to let that cool down a little bit. And while I'm doing that, we can sear the bun. And this is going to be fast, as long as you're using the right pan. There's a lot of frying pans out there that are a little bit curved. You may or may not know it, where there's like kind of like a little dimple in the inside. You don't want to use those. You want them to be, flat on the bottom. There we go. All we're doing is toasting the inside, just like when you're making a nice grilled cheese. And then the inside of the bun is gonna be nice and toasted. I like to keep the bun somewhere near where it's hot. I usually keep it, by the oven somewhere. You can keep it by the oven, so you can just pop it in the oven real quick. And speaking of the oven, as I mentioned, we do have the peach pies. If you're planning on eating this right after you're done cooking, I would then throw it, I'd probably say right as you're building the sandwich, throw your oven on at like 300 degrees. When you pop this in, it'll only take it maybe 20 minutes, but probably more around 15 hovering. And then when you pull it out, you can serve it with ice cream if you like, a little whipped cream. This is our building station. We're gonna finish the fried chicken on this plate. Let me just scoot this over here. So right when you hit about 350 degrees, and here's the thing, if you don't have a thermometer, it's not the end of the world. All we're doing is short fat frying. So when you have a hot pan, obviously you're not going to throw it in hot, but when you bring up a hot pan, it should only take about 5 minutes to get hot. That's what you need. But all you're going to do is you're going to sprinkle a little bit of water in the pan. And when it starts to sing like this, that means it's ready to go. Just right when it starts to sing. Now, if it starts making a loud noise, that means it's way too hot. That's, again, if you don't have a thermometer, it's preferred. You don't have to have a laser thermometer, but definitely some type of thermometer so you can get the right temperature. Again, it's only a 1/2 inch thick, so it might be, it'll get hot very fast. Right now, I'm reading 353. So now's the perfect temperature to throw it in. So all you're gonna do is dab it off, and drop it in just like this. If you do not feel comfortable getting close to the oil, of course, use your tongs. But the reason I like to lay it in slow here is so it doesn't splatter up. I'll do one with the tongs just so you can see what I mean. Dab it off on the side. There we go. And now watch, as soon as you throw it in there, it's going to drop the temperature, which is just fine. 296 now. It's not a true temperature because it shocked it so quickly. But it should only take about 2 minutes on the first side and maybe 1.5 minutes on the second side. We'll let that go. We can talk about the salad. So in your summer corn salad, as you can see, the nice bright feta cheese on top. It's a grilled corn. This is a cilantro lime vinaigrette that it comes with, and there'll be one in every kit. Heirloom tomatoes, arugula. Now the arugula is from Desert Bloom Farms, which is right here in town. And then underneath that is a little bit of, underneath that is a little bit of yellow tomatoes as well. So we have heirloom tomatoes, we have the bright yellow tomatoes, feta cheese, grilled corn, arugula. I threw a little bit of cilantro in there as well, but because it's also in the vinaigrette. So when you're making this, all you do is toss it with a little bit of vinaigrette. Right here in the box is fine, and then just right onto your plate. Also, this is going to come with foil on top. You want to bake it with the foil off. I'm going to bake it with the foil off. Okay, we're starting to sing here again. As you can see, the temperature is rising. So we're now at 330, which is really the sweet spot. You want to be 325 to 350. In my opinion, I feel like 350 is a little too hot. There we go. So now it's been about 2 minutes. We're going to flip it over. You see how crispy it is on that side, on both sides? And now this side will only take about a minute. Now it's important after it's finished cooking that we rest it here on the paper towel. Now when we rest on the paper towel, we're going to have plenty of time because we have to put the coleslaw and everything, but we'll go over that here shortly. I'm only making one sandwich right now. Clear this off. So there's our turkey's dressing. This is our house turkey's dressing. Make it in-house. Almost there. We're about 45 seconds away, maybe 30. It's a total kitchen call out too when the chef's like, how long on the burger? And the cook says, oh, it'll only be 30 seconds, but it's really 2 minutes. This is actually going to be only 30 more seconds, I promise you. I'm going to transfer it right to my plate here. You see how golden brown that is now? Make sure you turn your oil off. Now we build it. So on the bottom, you still have your coleslaw here. We always pile it high for the coleslaw here at Honey Salt. So it's totally up to you. But that is what we do. Piled high on the bottom. On top of that goes our fried chicken. We do want to rest that. It's very important that it's resting for a while. You know, even if it's a minute, 2 minutes is preferred, but as long as you don't throw it on there as soon as you pull it out of the oil so that it just kind of bleeds out that oil into your bun, you don't want that. There we are. Nice and crispy. So, on top of that goes your turkey's dressing. And we're very generous with the turkey's dressing. Very generous. There's about 2 ounces on each one. So I scrape it all out of there. Okay. Top of that, we top it with 2 pickles. And then the bun goes directly on that. Nice toasted bun. And then 2 pickles and the pick on top of that. And that is the finished Biloxi chicken sandwich. Hot and ready to eat, nice and crispy. And this is a great benefit for the shade tree. Thank you for joining us. And hopefully you can come by and see us at Honey Salt.